Alrighty guys, thank you guys so much for joining another live stream, my friends. I hope you guys are all having a great weekend so far. And in today's live stream, we are going to be giving you guys another weather update. Plus, we're also going to be chatting a lot, so feel free to join and stick around for as long as you would like, as we are going to be talking about a lot of things throughout the stream, including some things I'm getting ready to earn after all of you guys who've been supporting my channel. So like I said, feel free to stay tuned till the end so that way you guys know everything that's going to be happening, and so that way you guys can have a good idea on what to expect. But we're first going to start off by giving you guys a quick weather update on this weather pattern. We're going to be using the European model, and as you guys can see, we are going to be tracking a little bit of snowfall across the mid-Atlantic and as well as the northeast as we head throughout the rest of today. And as we take this forward, we might have another little clipper roll on through the Great Lakes region, which might bring a little bit of heavy snowfall to those areas by the time we get into Monday of next week. But the storm that I'm going to be watching the closest will be this one on Christmas Day and perhaps into Thursday, December 26th. And yeah, that is going to continue into December 26th on Thursday, with maybe even some severe weather. Because if we take a look at if we're going to get any severe weather by taking a look at the lightning strikes, it does not really show a whole lot up here towards the lower Ohio Valley, but I do think there could be some frequent lightning down there into parts there of eastern Texas, and that will eventually head out, and we might be left with another round of thunderstorms, which this one kind of remains a little uncertain still, but it definitely will give us a good idea that there could be some showers and even some thunderstorms over there towards Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana. So we will be watching that closely by the time we get into Friday of next week. And just to give another good idea, let's also take a look at the GFS model, which is still currently updating but does go a little bit far out. And yeah, we will have some energy to work with, which once again is going to give us a pretty good idea on what we're going to be expecting. And if we go back to the previous run and let's just see what that shows, it actually does show a little bit of that energy surging farther to the north. So even if we don't see as bad of lightning up here to the north, we still could get a little bit of lightning ongoing up here into the lower Ohio Valley, even though it doesn't seem to be as bad as those areas far down to the south. So we will watch it very closely, as areas like the Tennessee and lower Ohio valleys could definitely be at risk for some, like I said, some thunderstorms and maybe even some showers. We'll have to see what happens as we get into the end of this month, but it's definitely something to watch for and of course be on high alert for, as there is going to be that potential for showers and even some thunderstorms down here in the Dixie Alley area. And not only will we be tracking that, if we also take a look at any more storm systems that we can expect, which I kind of do want to look into January for a second, as I do think January could actually be a pretty active month. Because if we look at the future radar and continue this into January, the GFS model actually does show some pretty heavy showers and even some thunderstorms ongoing down there across parts there of Texas and as well as Louisiana by the time we get into the beginning of January. So if I were you, I would definitely watch this very closely, as things do look to be more on the concerning side of things. So we'll definitely continue to watch that. Let's see here. Shaken Blake says, hey there, hi there, Shaken Blake, thank you for joining my live stream. And yeah, like I said, we will be tracking a lot of rainfall even as we get into the beginning of January, so that's definitely something to really keep an eye on there. If we go back to the European model, and we kind of get a good idea on some other things, let's take a look at the unstable cape using the European model. Like I said, it doesn't go as far out, but just like the GFS model was showing, it does want to show a lot of cape surging into those areas like Dixie Alley, back up there into Arkansas, Texas, and as well as Oklahoma and Texas. That still could be enough to maybe support a little bit of severe weather by the time we get into Friday of next week, which we will continue to watch extremely closely. So it's definitely something to really keep an eye on. And we can also look at our total precipitation. Let's use the National Blend of Models for that. And if we look at the National Blend of all models, which actually goes pretty far out compared to these models still needing to update, and if we look at your total precipitation, we are going to be seeing some pretty high amounts of precipitation, especially across the Northwest. Look at that. Places like Seattle, down there into Portland, up there into Northern California, places like Eureka, Crescent City. You guys are going to be at risk for a lot of flooding and even a lot of heavy rainfall. And where you see those purple colors, let's actually go ahead and zoom in to that area. So let's go out there towards the west. Yeah, we are going to be seeing that potential for several inches of rainfall across parts there of the west. So we will need to watch that area very closely, as we could be seeing around 20 inches of rainfall by the time we head into the beginning of January. And once again, that's mainly due to more atmospheric river events that could be ongoing. So that's something to really keep an eye on. And just another quick view, if I can find the Pacific Northwest. There we go. Yeah, so like I said, definitely an area that we have to keep an eye on, as even Seattle right there could pick up around a half a foot of rainfall. Areas like Crescent City down there in California could pick up a couple feet of rainfall, and even areas like Portland could definitely also see a half a foot. So something to really keep an eye on, like I said, by the time we get into our January. And then if we also look at our total snowfall, we are going to be watching a lot of the United States closely, especially the north, for maybe a little bit of a snowfall event by the time we get into January, because we will be dealing with warmer than normal temperatures as we get into the next few weeks. So it's obviously not certain as of right now on whether we'll see snowfall or not, but it's definitely to the point where we will need to watch for maybe some snowfall event by the time we get into the beginning of January, which usually January is the coldest month of the winter, so that's usually not surprising at all to at least see a few big snowstorms roll on through. So like I said, that is something to watch for as we get into January. But for the next few weeks, it looks like the higher elevations is going to be the main concern, while the rest of the United States either going to be completely dry with no snowfall, or just going to be talking about a little bit of a dusting, which it will more than likely be these next few days, and then most of that snowfall should diminish and be more of that rainfall event by the time we get into Christmas. So that's definitely something that's pretty unusual and of course rare for this time of year, as we usually would not be talking about above normal temperatures this time of year. And if you guys got anything to leave down in the chat, feel free to do that. Like I said, we are going to be chatting with you guys throughout this live stream. And just a few more things that I do want to point out before we really chat is that my monitor is actually getting close to coming in the mail, because if we look at this, it has already been shipped, and where you see that X, that is currently where my package is. So it's currently between shipped and as well as out for delivery. So it is getting pretty close to being out for delivery. Hasn't gotten close to being delivered yet, but that should change as we get into Sunday, because it still says it's expected to arrive Monday of next week. So that should be when my monitor gets delivered is Monday of next week, like I said, and then that's when it should be delivered. So we'll see what happens, but that's when we're currently forecasting it to be delivered. Let's see here. Shaken Blake says, I gotta head out for work. Thank you. You are very welcome, Shaken Blake. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, if we also look at some other things too as well, and if we look at our Climate Prediction Center outlooks, let's first start off with our temperature outlook. And for our temperature outlook, this is the 6 to 10 day outlook on the Climate Prediction Center. And as we head into the next few weeks, we will be tracking well above normal temperatures across almost every single state, maybe starting to get a little bit below average there across Alaska, but it's mainly going to be places like Anchorage down there towards Juneau to see the best chance of above normal temperatures there. So every single state is still looking at above normal temperatures. Now that doesn't mean all of Alaska, that just means every single state, or at least a part of each state. So we will watch it very closely as we get into the next few weeks, and this, I'm pretty sure this even heads into January, with still almost every single state at least seeing slightly above normal temperatures as we head into the beginning of our January. So that is something to really watch for, like I said, as things do look to really start ramping up. Now, I'm not going to say that it's a guarantee that we'll see above normal temperatures, because like I said, January is typically the coldest month of the year, so we always can't rule out somewhat an Arctic blast or two, but it definitely is a possibility, so we will watch it very closely. And yeah, so definitely make sure to keep that in mind. And then if we also look at our precipitation outlook as well, let's actually go ahead and look at the 6 to 10 day outlook on precipitation. And yeah, as you guys can see, we will be tracking above normal precipitation across a pretty good portion there of the central United States, back up there into the Pacific Northwest. We might have some areas up there in the Northeast to watch for below average, but most of the United States should be at that point to where we will likely see above normal temperatures. So we will watch it very closely, as things are looking like they are gonna start ramping up quite a bit. And same with the 8 to 14 day outlook, maybe a little bit less below average across the Northeast, but we will still be seeing a lot of wet conditions across the central United States, including the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and as well as parts there, the Eastern Rocky Mountains, where we will definitely be needing to watch for more of those training storm systems to roll on through, which once again, obviously not a guarantee, but it's definitely something to really watch closely for. And then the last thing that I want to show you guys on the Climate Prediction Center is our January outlook, okay? So let's start off by taking a look at your temperatures for January, and where you see all that white, that indicates equal chances for both above and below normal temperatures, okay? So obviously not looking like a terribly cold month from the National Weather Service, because they don't really show a lot of areas of below average temperatures. But I definitely do think that a lot of the southern United States could be the area to watch the closest as we could be seeing slightly above normal temperatures even across those coastal areas of New England up there into California. So that is going to be one thing to watch for. The thing that I'm even more concerned about is our precipitation, okay? Because the latest from the National Weather Service is saying that we could be seeing above normal precipitation across the upper Rocky Mountains, all the way back down there into the Great Lakes and as well as the Ohio Valley, and that does include places like Evansville, Louisville, Indianapolis, up there in the Bloomington, Illinois, Chicago, Detroit. Those areas are likely to see some pretty wet conditions as we get into January, which will put you guys at risk for even some snowfall, especially as those Arctic blasts roll on through. So like I said, it is something to watch for closely, but I don't really want to say that this is exactly what's going to happen, because like I said, even though it may seem like something to really watch for, it's obviously not a guarantee that it happens, but it is something that we could see, so we'll watch it closely. And if you guys haven't left anything down in the chat, feel free to leave anything down in the chat. And that's one of the big reasons why we did this live stream, is so that way you guys can chat with us. So make sure, like I said, make sure to leave anything down in the chat, guys. We will be live for still a little while, as we are still going to be tracking a lot of things. So yeah, definitely make sure to continue to join and stick around, like I said. And not only that, let's also look at the European weekly outlooks on the snowfall. So if we look at our snowfall throughout January, it does look like January could be a pretty snowy month. It actually is starting to shift more of that snowfall farther down to the south towards places like the Lower Ohio Valley. It looks like the Lower Ohio Valley could see a couple inches of snowfall, maybe even a half a foot, where you see that purple color. Areas far to the north, like the Cascades, you guys might see quite a bit of snowfall during the month of January. And even you guys over there towards the northeast, we might also have to watch those areas closely, as well as you guys could also experience some above normal precipitation and as well as above average snowfall. So like I said, something to really keep an eye on closely as we get into our January, but it still is going to remain uncertain though, so we'll keep an eye on it, but obviously not a guarantee. And if we also look at your precipitation for January, okay, it has changed a little bit to where it actually is saying that that above normal precipitation of 2 to 4 inches might shift a little farther to the north. This actually looks a little bit different than what it was showing yesterday, but still pretty similar, as the Northwest is seeing several inches of rainfall as we get into January, maybe even some areas getting close to around 20 inches of rainfall, especially where you see those purple colors. And then areas over here out to the east, maybe some widespread totals of around 2 to 4 inches, with maybe some higher totals of around 6 inches of rainfall for your overall January. So something to really keep an eye on as we get into our January. Might even need to watch the East Coast for some pretty wet conditions, as some of those areas could possibly experience anywhere from around 6 to 12 inches, especially where you see those brown colors, which are those extreme coastal areas of Massachusetts and as well as North Carolina. So like I said, we'll have to see what happens as we head throughout January, and this is just to give us a good idea. Obviously not going to be exact, but something to really keep an eye on closely, as these models are definitely making this seem concerning. And like I said, feel free to leave anything down in the chat if you haven't already. We will continue to stay live for probably like another 30 minutes or so, as we are going to continue to talk about just a few more things. One of which that I want to point out is that I am actually getting close to being eligible, okay? Because if we look at how much I could earn, because if you guys get me up there towards 3,000 watch hours, which I only need about 180, then you guys will be able to become members on my channel. You guys will be able to donate super chats to me, and you guys will even be able to look at my merchandise as well. And that's only if you guys get me up there towards 2,000, not 2,000, but 3,000 watch hours, which I only need about 180 still. So something that I am very excited about, so that way we can really help this channel a lot. And one of the best ways to earn this is to subscribe, and as well as watch my videos more frequently, as there is gonna still be some more watch hours I need to earn before I get to that point. Let's see here. Severe weather season going to be higher next springtime. For severe weather season, it still is uncertain on what we will see in the spring, but if we look at the European model, the European seasonal model, it does want to show some pretty well above average precipitation for March, almost like what we're expected to see during the month of January. Because if we go back towards January, this is what January looks like, and then if we go towards March, pretty much the same. Maybe not as much storm activity down there in Dixie Alley, or even parts there of the Tornado Alley area, but it's definitely something, like I said, to really watch closely for. And this is April, maybe looking a little bit less active across the Dixie Alley area. It does not say that it's going to be as active in April, but I still do think like the Ohio Valley, Midwest, and Deep South could definitely see some of that. And then for May, definitely going to see a pretty active severe weather month, and then it does remain uncertain after that. So like I said, Mike, it's still going to remain very, very uncertain, but it's definitely something that we could see as we get into severe weather season. And I definitely would not rule out an above average tornado season next year, so we'll watch it. Yeah, but, well, like I said, guys, feel free to leave anything down in the chat if you would like. We will continue to watch, the weather closely during the next few weeks, and even as we get into Christmas. I think the good news this year is that we will not have to worry so much about travel impacts, and that's mainly due to, light accumulation, on roadways and grassy surfaces, because, like I said, that is what the accumulation looks like as we get past towards Christmas. Let me just quickly select that. Yeah, and total snowfall past Christmas, definitely not looking terrible, guys. Like I said, we might not have to worry about as much travel impacts this year, because if you look closely, places like New England, Mid-Atlantic, and as well as into the Great Lakes region, those areas could see a little bit of snowfall, but it's definitely not as much as what you would expect. So we will have to see what happens. But as of right now, though, it's still uncertain on what exactly we'll see, but it's definitely makes me feel a little bit better, because at least we won't have any huge impacts to worry about this Christmas, at least not as much as what we would typically see. Let's see here. Sprinkle Elf says hi. Hi there, Sprinkle Elf. Thank you for joining my live stream. Much appreciated, my friend. Let's see here. Mike says, how about ice storm in January? The chance of an ice storm in January are definitely going to be on the higher side of things. We're going to have to go back to the weekly model to see that. I'm not really sure if they have any ice accumulation on these models. There might be one or two that I can select. Let's see. I think the best model to select would probably be the GFS model, because it does have freezing rain totals. And as we take this into January, as you can see, this is the last day in December, which is New Year's Eve. But if we go out to January 6th, it does want to pop up a little bit of a freezing rain event across New England as we get into the beginning of January, which wouldn't be surprising at all to see. And like I said, the chances of an ice storm in January are definitely going to be much higher, just because warmer than normal temperatures across the higher parts of the atmosphere will melt that snow and turn it into rain, while a lot of those colder temperatures stay near the surface of around 32 degrees Fahrenheit or less, and that's what causes freezing rain. And like I said, that's probably why we got a much higher chance of seeing an ice storm this January. And for my opinion, ice probably occurs a lot easier than snowfall, just because things seem to set up a little bit easier. But we will definitely watch it closely as we get into January. So if I were you, I would be prepared for an ice storm, as it's probably almost a guarantee that we'll see one this January. But yeah, and if we also take a look at just sleet, we're just going to quickly take a look at that too as well with our sleet totals. Yeah, it does also want to show some sleet across those areas, just another possibility as we get into January, but it's still going to remain uncertain though, so we'll keep an eye on it. Let's see here. Mike says, "Do you know where that ice storm will set up?" It's gonna set up in New England, like I said. So if we do see one in the beginning of January, it's probably going to be across the Northeast. As like I said, if we look at New Year's Eve, and then we take this forward to January 6th, you can see that ice accumulation starting to pop up across the Northeast, and that's how we know that there could be an ice storm across that area. So if you do live across places like eastern New York, New Hampshire, up there into Vermont, western Massachusetts, those are the areas that you're going to have to watch closely for. And like I said, if you are in that area, you're definitely going to want to be prepared, as I think we will see an ice storm across that area at some point, but models can always change though. We'll see what happens. And if we also take a look at a few more things, let's take a look at the Colorado State University, because like what we were talking about earlier in the stream, it is definitely a possibility that we could maybe get some severe weather. And yeah, the latest from the Colorado State University does want to show some in the way of severe weather for the Dixie Alley area, and as well as the Southern Plains area. Just another heads up that we might see that as we get into the end of this month, but severe weather is still remaining uncertain. Let's see here. How about the Southern Great Lakes? Any ice storm in January? For the Southern Great Lakes, we might have a little bit of ice. I don't think the chances of an ice storm are gonna be as high, at least from what we're seeing as of right now. But it's definitely something that could happen as we get into January. As from what I'm seeing right now, it does look like it is gonna be a possibility. So we'll watch that area as well in January. And just to be honest with you, I think think any area across the northern United States is going to have that possibility of an ice storm, and as well as areas as far down south as Texas could even get an ice storm or two this January, but it's still uncertain as of right now, but we'll still continue to watch it. But back to what we were talking about before, still going to be tracking that severe weather potential, like I said, and just a comparison that I also want to look at. This is the Storm Prediction Center, and as well as the SIPS, and as well as the Colorado State University. And like I said, the Colorado State University does want to show the potential for some severe weather, but if we look at SIPS, it does show a little bit of yellow right over there into places like Dallas, Texas. That's just to show that we might need to watch let's see, what day is that? I think that is gonna be on Thursday. Yes, that's gonna be on Thursday, when we could maybe get a little bit of severe weather over there across parts there of northeast Texas. So that is definitely going to be something to really keep an eye on closely as we get into Thursday of next week. We might even see that linger into Friday, maybe even into Saturday, as we get into the later part of this month. But like I said, though, it's still going to remain very uncertain, but we will definitely continue to watch it as things do look to start ramping up. And yeah, just another thing that I also want to look at is some radars, just to let you guys know that we also will be doing with a little bit of storm activity as well. That's just another heads up. I wish this had the snowfall in it, but yeah, there is definitely some snowfall going across those areas. So it is definitely something to watch. Let's see here. Mike says a lot of studies on the weather starting to be complicated to predict weather changes a lot. Yeah, that is true, my friend. It definitely does take a lot to get used to predicting weather changes, and so it is definitely quite challenging, especially if you haven't studied, which I have. I've been to the National Weather Service before in Paducah, Kentucky, so I do know a lot about this. Plus, I also been to a lot of our local news stations in town. That definitely got me a lot of experience as well. And then I think the next thing that I'm going to try to get is a bachelor's degree for meteorology. That's my next thing that I'm going to try to get. So it's definitely coming up. I'm definitely getting a lot better, definitely understanding more things. So you can definitely rely on me, as I've gotten a lot of experience so far. And yeah, I also am concerned about a La Nina as well, cause like what we said in the last few videos, La Nina has been kind of getting close. We've been kind of on the edge of either a La Nina or in a neutral phase, and the latest actually does show I'm pretty sure this is a moderate La Nina, as this is a degree Celsius below average. Okay, we are less than that, which means those our temperatures are extremely cool. And here's what they look like, guys. We're talking temperatures well below average across much of the central and eastern Pacific Ocean. And just look at that, a lot of that blue showing up, and we still got a lot of that blue still trying to surge on in, and of course organize, so that way it will turn out to be more of a La Nina. So we'll see what happens as we get into January, because that looks to be our best chance for a La Nina to happen. We might also see see even this become more below average, because this is the sea surface temperature anomaly is different from the global mean, so it's a little bit different than those exact it's a little bit different than those exact sea surface temperatures, but it's definitely showing also below average water temperature, so we'll watch it. Let's see here. Mike says, do you think Tornado Alley shifting Great Lakes 60% of the time every summer season? Well, scientists have been talking about how Tornado Alley is shifting east, and that was actually a few years ago. So it's definitely farther east than what it has been during the past couple of decades. And if you're talking about it shifting towards the Great Lakes 60% of the time every summer, I don't know about that, because not every severe weather season is going to be exactly the same. But since Tornado Alley has shifted east, that definitely does put the Great Lakes region at risk for more tornadoes. And just to show you guys that, let me quickly see if I can find an image. Let's see, Tornado Alley shifting east. I just want to quickly find an image to show you, just to give you a good idea. And yeah, just to show you that Tornado Alley is shifting east, look at this, okay? Cause if we look at that, I'm just trying to see if I can find a little bit of a better image, but the tornado risk map during each year is typically across the Midwest, and as well as Ohio Valley, and as well as parts there of the Great Lakes. Just look how much that red area has shifted east. Isn't that just crazy, my friend? We are talking from the plains all the way to the Ohio Valley. A huge shift in Tornado Alley, okay? Now, the Great Lakes region, it's still going to remain very uncertain on what exactly the Great Lakes region will even see. But like I said, though, since Tornado Alley has shifted east a little bit, it's definitely putting those areas more at risk for tornadoes. So we are going to be watching the Great Lakes region closely, as places like Detroit especially does look to be at risk for some pretty big time severe weather potentially. We'll have to see what happens, but definitely much bigger than what it has been lately, because most of the tornadoes typically occur in Tornado Alley, but with that red area shifting east, that definitely does put more areas at risk for tornadoes. So definitely something to keep an eye on closely. If you got anything else to leave down in the chat, feel free to do that. We are going to continue to stay probably for another 30 minutes or so, but if you don't have a lot, that's fine. But like I said, though, we will continue to stay live, so feel free to leave really anything down in the chat if you would like. But like I said, though, definitely an area to watch for this spring, as Tornado Alley could continue to shift eastward. But other than that, though, definitely looking like a pretty active winter, and as well as spring across the United States. We also could be seeing some other things too as well. I also want to talk about the overall pattern, and so I'm actually going to go ahead and select the GFS small run to see if it has changed. It looks like it has updated enough to where we can actually see if there's been any changes. And yeah, there, like I said earlier, guys, might have enough CAPE to support some rumbles of thunder across the lower Ohio Valley by the time we get into later this month. And if we look at your overall pattern by taking a look at this, we are going to be seeing that Arctic air over here out to the east head on out, and we'll see a lot of warm air start to surge on in by the time we get into tomorrow. And after that, all that cold air will head out as we get into next week, and we'll pretty much just be left with well above average temperatures through Christmas Eve, and we might even see some more big time troughs roll on through, which sometimes is what this blue color indicates, is a lot of troughs, and those do look to bring the potential for some severe weather. And then after those head out, we might need to watch the beginning of January closely, as we could maybe see a return of Arctic air sometime. But I definitely don't want to say that it will happen, though, even though January is typically the coldest month of the year. Let's see here. Scientists are saying Great Lakes water is melting, decreasing ice melt in the Great Lakes water could be causing more storm. And yeah, I do get what you're saying, Mike. And yeah, that is true. The Great Lakes waters are definitely warm, and they are warm enough to where they are um melting a lot of that ice on the water. Plus, they are warm enough to where they are even causing lake effect snowfall. That's one of the main reasons why they are concerned about that lake water, is because for how warm those Great Lakes waters are, which they actually been the warmest they have ever been, they are so warm that they really cause a lot of moisture for those storms, and that's why we see more snowfall totals around the lake. So yeah, you are right about that, Mike. It definitely is a big concern about how that could happen. But yeah, that's almost everything that we really are gonna be watching for with the weather. And like I said, feel free to leave any comments, questions, or concerns that you guys have down in the chat. We will continue to stay live for probably another 20 minutes or so until we get to that hour mark. And also make sure to like, guys. Let's try to get this stream up there towards 10 likes if we can. That's what I think we should try to get on almost every stream. And if you haven't liked on the other streams that we done, make sure to leave a like on those ones as well. They really support the channel a lot. And of course, we'll even try to get a lot of those other things as well. So like I said, make sure to consider subscribing, so that way we can keep you updated with the latest. Let's see here. Are from winds soar Ontario winter season, been snow less here the last few winters. Oh, okay. I didn't understand what you were saying at first, but it sounds like you're saying, I assume you're saying that Ontario has not been seeing as active a winter during the last couple of years, which if you are asking that, that is true. We've been in an El Nino, which usually keeps those areas farther to the north dry during the past year, and that's the reason why we have not, those areas far to the north has not seen a ton of snowfall during the past year. However, though, we are looking to be in a La Nina this year, and that's why we are already seeing those chances for snowfall starting to ramp up in the Great Lakes region. So definitely something to really keep an eye on closely, as things do look like they are going to start to ramp up. So we are going to watch it closely, but it's definitely something that is true, my friend. Like I said, you are right about how we haven't had as much snowfall during the last few winter. Let's see here. Sparkle Elf says, "Happy Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays." Happy Holidays to you, Sprinkle Elf. Thank you so much. That is one of the nicest comments I've heard on this live stream so far. Thank you so much, Elf. That is much appreciated. Let's see here. Mike says, Merry Christmas, the weather, just mystery. Yeah, we definitely are always gonna have something that's gonna be a mystery in the weather, because like I said, we don't really know exactly how the spring will be like, but we actually do know what's gonna happen for Christmas this year, because like I said, we will be dealing with warmer than normal temperatures, which is why this shows more in the way of rainfall for Christmas. So for my opinion, Christmas isn't really a mystery this year, just because we know that there's gonna be a lot of that rainfall around. But for my opinion, spring and summer still remain a mystery for this year, as there's definitely a lot of uncertainty to those seasons still. And if you guys got anything else to leave down in the chat, feel free to leave that. I really do appreciate you, Sprinkle Elf, joining me. You've been very nice. I really do appreciate it, and same with you, Mike. I really do appreciate you leaving all those questions. Some of those were very interesting. I haven't really heard a lot of those questions before, but I definitely do know how to answer them because I've done this stuff before. Let's see here. Do you know anything about space weather? I do, my friend. I do know about space weather. And one of the main things I can tell you is that we have had a lot of geomagnetic storms lately. We been dealing with the last one was in May, and that was a G4 magnetic storm. That was our last strongest geomagnetic storm that we had, which caused a lot of northern lights. That one's definitely going into the history books for how many northern lights that popped up. We also did have another strong geomagnetic storm roll on through, which I think was about a month ago. That one was also pretty strong, and those are caused by solar flares. Solar flares are these big areas of heat that pop up the sun and they move onto Earth. And the reason why we don't experience a lot of impacts from them is because the geomagnetic system around Earth is what's protecting us from those solar flares, which they still are enough to where they still can cause a lot of power outages, such as cell service and things like that. So yes, I do know a lot about space weather, my friend, and those are the main things that meteorologists really keep an eye on, is those geomagnetic storms, because that's been what's happening frequently. Let's see here. Solar flares can start from cool batches. I'm not sure what you mean by that, my friend. Um, I just know that they start off by when parts of the sun bubble because they're really hot, and that's when a lot of that heat goes to Earth. So I think you could probably explain that just a little bit better. And if you guys got anything else, make sure to leave it down in the chat. I think we are going to continue to be live for probably the next 10 minutes. We're at least going to try to reach that hour point unless anyone else joins. So like I said, if you have not left anything down below already, make sure to leave something so that way we can continue to keep this live stream going. Otherwise, we'll probably end it in just a little bit. So make sure to do that if you have not already. And of course, consider subscribing as well. Subscribing is definitely one of the things we really need to help support our channel a lot, which, like I said, I am getting very close to earning this. And one of the best ways to earn it is by liking and subscribing, so that way we can get up there towards 3,000 watch hours, which we only need about 180 still. Let's see here. Mike says, are we in for solar maximum next summer within the sun? I would probably say yes. They have happened quite frequently, so I think we will be in for a solar flare next summer, but those are a lot harder to predict, so we can't really say if one will or won't happen. It's just like predicting earthquakes, where you can't really get big ideas on whether it's gonna happen or not, and that's the same with geomagnetic storms. We can predict like about when they're gonna happen, especially if the sun is being very active, but like I said, solar flares are just as hard to predict sometimes, if why not a little bit easier. But we'll definitely watch next summer closely, especially knowing that solar flares have been happening a lot of the time. So like I said, I think one will, but it's something that we can't really predict this far out. And if anyone else got anything, leave down in the chat. Make sure to leave it down in the chat before we before we end the stream, which I think we're gonna end in just a little bit. So if you got anything else, make sure to leave it down in the chat before we end this. Let's see here. How are you? I am texting too much. I am good, Mike. I am good. I am good, Mike. And yeah, if anything got anything else, I think we're gonna go ahead and end the stream. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I think I probably will do a video tomorrow, not necessarily a live stream, just because gonna be quite busy tomorrow, I think. But make sure to leave a like down below. Of course, subscribe so that way we can keep you updated with the latest, and so that you can support the channel a lot. Because like I said, I'm really excited to earn this and be eligible, which means you guys can become members and start donating money to me. So make sure to do that, and that would certainly be much appreciated. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of your weekend, and of course, happy holidays, everyone. I hope you guys all have a great Christmas. Hope you guys get what you wish for, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and goodbye.